is Gargoyles Flat, a short story by Lesley Atherton. Did you visit the church to see the flat gargoyles? The one on the steps down to the crypt? They're flush with the wall. They are so weird. I looked across the table at my friend as she finished speaking. We'd been exploring the village separately, but stayed in the same room and arranged to meet up for meals. It was a method we'd found worked quite well for two introverted best mates on holiday together. Bernie took an enthusiastic bite of her sultana scone. It looked more fluffy than cakey, and I almost wished I'd chosen the same until I took a bite of my olive bread that I dipped in tomato and basil soup. Are you sure they were gargoyles, Bernadette? They aren't usually flat. I can't remember ever seeing a brass rubbing of a gargoyle. You might be right. Maybe they were just unattractive people or dogs or something. I wasn't really taking notice of the guidebook, to be honest. I was probably influenced by that programme we watched last night. Which one? That Miss Marple story, when the woman pretended to do brass rubbings, you remember, at a village church? But she was really searching for a birth mother, and all kinds of mayhem ensued. I shivered. Lost family, mayhem, secrets. It's not cold, Bernadette said. Are you okay? Somebody walked over my grave, I said quickly, coming up with an explanation I thought she might understand. I had that feeling again when you talked about the brass rubbings. It happens all the time when anyone mentions brass rubbings. I had another vision that something's going to happen. Bernie gave me that look I hate, and she said that sentence I also hate. Overused and ridiculous. Sibylla, she said. Just because your parents gave you the name of an astrology or a phony medium at a fairground, you don't need to play up to it. What the hell? Sibylla Sky, that was my name, not Gypsy Rosalie. I was named after my Polish great aunt Sibylla, as I was born on April the 29th, Sibylla's name day in Poland. I liked it. It was well chosen. And I liked my surname, Sky, Sibylla Sky. It was pretty. Bernadette's opinionated craziness was one of many reasons why we always spent most of our holidays apart. I suddenly wished the sultanas in his scone were raisins. No, crunchy, dead spiders. And I wished her plate would turn into a slab of flat gargoyles. And I also wished I had chosen the best cake in the cafe and that she would marvel at it enviously. I'm not a phony medium. But I'm not a nice woman. While Bernadette was out wandering through graveyards and into crypts to discover wonderful historical and liturgical artefacts, I was doing something different. I was in the town hall searching for my next persona. You see, I'd known Bernadette only 3 years. I wouldn't know her for much longer. Let's just say that things were catching up with me. The past, and most notably the law. I could only stick with every chosen name for a couple of years, despite my wanting to keep hold of some a little longer. Sibylla had been found in a graveyard, a name on a stone, dutifully imprinted by a mason. Sibylla Sky. I liked it, and took it for my own, weaving its own history. His story for her story. I had had enough of Bernie. As soon as this holiday was over, I'd be selecting a name less pretty and one chosen because of its very anonymity. A baby girl, Jane Hicks, was born in the same month as I was, according to this parish's records, and died at 2 months old from gastrointestinal issues. She would do. I would transform into simple little Jane Hicks. I'd be married to a Tony Hicks. Jane and Tone Hicks. Gin and tonics. Lovely. That name would definitely do. Watching her bite a scone with disgust, I said, at least you'll always remember my name, Bernie. There aren't many other Sibylla Skies, are there? Couldn't forget that name, she said with mouthful. At least I'd leave a few memories behind. However, I couldn't leave Bernie behind. I have never once left behind a familiar. Neither would I ever confess all to Bernie and bring her with me. She had to go, just like all the rest. I couldn't even remember where it all began. Some place back at the dawning of time when I was a young woman with my original name and original life and was full of future hope. I would dream of becoming a lecturer in mathematics at the university. I would forgo having children and instead would have 3 big dogs, perhaps Belgian shepherds. But that was before Alec. We met, he promised, he went back on that promise, and I took my revenge. On the run was no fun until I realised that I didn't need to be me any longer. And so began my quiet not niceness. As many have done before me, I would meet a lonely person, befriend said lonely person, and when the time seemed right, I'd scrap the name and murder that lonely person. Chosen often because of their lack of history, friends and family. Sometimes I've taken on their identity too, but that was getting tiring. Better to be reborn as a little girl again. I smiled across the table at Bernie. That scone looks good, I said, but I'll take you somewhere very special for lunch tomorrow to celebrate the last day of our holiday. And the last day of Bernie's existence. After all, the best criminals leave no clues, no witnesses, just shadows, or the lightest trace of brass rubbed crayon on paper.